Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves move endlessly, sometimes calm and serene, sometimes powerful and relentless. You cannot stop them. You cannot control their rhythm, but you can learn to sail. You can learn to navigate their unpredictability with skill, patience, and presence. Life is no different. The world around us is in constant motion, filled with distractions, expectations, and forces far beyond our control. Yet within this motion, there is space to cultivate mastery, not by forcing the world into order, but by learning to move through it with clarity, discipline, and resilience. This is the heart of Stoicism. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, were not distant philosophers lost in abstraction. They were leaders, statesmen, and survivors of hardship. They endured war, exile, betrayal, and personal loss, and yet they remained steady. Their principles were not ivory tower theories. They were survival tools. They were guides for facing life's storms and finding peace of mind even when everything seemed to fall apart. And their wisdom is not bound to ancient Rome or Greece. If anything, it may be even more relevant now. We live in a time of excess, too much information, too many distractions, and a constant flood of demands pulling us in every direction. We chase after more success, more possessions, more approval, only to find ourselves tired, scattered, and distant from what truly matters. But what if the answer wasn't more? What if the answer was less, but better? What if we stripped away the unnecessary, removed the noise, and focused only on what is essential? The wisdom of the Stoics offers exactly that, not as a historical curiosity, but as a practical guide for meaningful progress in the life you are living right now. That is what this episode is about. 12 Stoic principles, each one a practical key to living with greater purpose, resilience, and clarity. These are not ideas to merely reflect on. They are tools to use, starting today. So take a breath, release what you cannot control, and let's begin. The modern world glorifies productivity, but few stop to ask, productive in service of what? We fill our days with tasks, meetings, and notifications, mistaking movement for progress, activity for achievement. The Stoics saw through this illusion. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or rather do only what's essential." This is not an excuse for laziness. It is a call for precision. Most of what fills our days is noise. Habits we repeat without thought. Obligations we accept without reflection. Distractions that take without giving. We say yes too often. We scatter our attention. And then we wonder why we feel stretched thin, restless, and unfulfilled. Picture an archer drawing their bow. If they try to aim at everything, they hit nothing. But if they steady their breath, narrow their focus, and align with one target, their chances of success grow immeasurably. Life is no different. The key is not to do more. It is to do less, with greater intention. Each morning, instead of drowning in an endless list of tasks, ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do today that will matter most? Identify it, protect it from distractions, commit to it fully, and say no without hesitation to what does not serve it. Because every yes to the trivial is a no to the meaningful. Every moment spent on the unnecessary is a moment stolen from what truly matters. We often mistake busyness for importance. We believe that constant motion must mean progress. But movement without direction is nothing more than wasted energy. The Stoics remind us, a well-lived life is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right things and doing them well. Like a sculptor chipping away at marble, you reveal your masterpiece not by adding more, but by removing what does not belong. What remains is clarity. What remains is excellence. A ship that drifts without an anchor is at the mercy of every change in the wind and tide. Without something to hold it steady, it has no say in where it ends up. Life is no different. Without a core philosophy, a set of guiding principles, we are pulled in every direction, swayed by passing trends, external pressures, and the expectations of others. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that to live with stability and purpose, we must have an anchor, a personal framework for understanding the world and our place within it. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the world, wrote to himself as a humble student of philosophy. He returned, again and again, to the belief that virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and discipline was the highest good. No matter the chaos around him, this was his anchor. Seneca found his in the conviction that time is our most precious resource, and to waste it is the greatest loss. Epictetus, once a slave, rooted himself in the understanding that, while we cannot control what happens to us, we can always choose our response. Their lives could not have been more different, yet each drew strength from defining their own philosophy and living by it. Most people never stop to ask, what do I truly believe? What values guide my choices? What principles will I hold to, even when life becomes difficult? Instead, they absorb whatever surrounds them, the culture, the media, the opinions of others. Without realizing it, they live reactively, floating without direction, vulnerable to every shift in the current. But there is a way to change this. Pause for a moment and think back to the times in your life when you felt most certain, most aligned, most at peace with yourself. What was guiding you in those moments? What deep belief was shaping your actions? That is your anchor. Once you define it, everything else becomes clearer. Decisions lose their weight. Distractions lose their grip. Challenges become tests of character rather than threats to your peace. A person with a strong philosophical anchor does not chase approval. They already know what they stand for. They do not panic in uncertainty. They have something solid to hold on to. And when the storms of life inevitably come, they may bend, but they do not break. Because no matter how fierce the winds, the anchor holds. A traveler burdened with unnecessary luggage moves slowly, struggling under the weight of things they do not need. The same is true for the mind. Most of our suffering does not come from events themselves, but from the way we respond to them. We carry too much, worries about the future, regrets about the past, frustrations over things far beyond our influence. The Stoics offer one of the most liberating principles of all. Focus only on what you can control and let go of everything else. Epictetus, born into slavery and later one of the most respected Stoic teachers, put it plainly. Some things are within our power, while others are not. That distinction is everything. Your thoughts, your actions, your effort, your attitude, these are within your control. The opinions of others, the past, the randomness of the world, these are not. And yet, most people live as if the opposite were true. They pour energy into changing what cannot be changed, while neglecting the one thing they do have power over, themselves. Think about how much frustration comes from this reversal. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you spend the next 10 minutes replaying the moment, feeding your anger. A colleague gets praise you feel they don't deserve, and resentment lingers, even though it changes nothing about your own path. You set a goal, but unexpected obstacles appear, and instead of adapting, you feel defeated. In each case, the pain comes not from the event itself, but from resistance, the refusal to accept what is beyond your control. The Stoics taught that true strength comes not from controlling the world, but from mastering your own responses to it. This is not apathy, it is clarity. It is the discipline to stop fighting battles that were never yours to win, and to direct your energy toward the only battlefield that truly matters, your own mind. Stoicism does not mean passively accepting everything that happens. It means redirecting your energy to where it truly matters. Instead of trying to control people, Focus on controlling your reactions to them. Instead of fearing failure, focus on giving your best effort. Instead of resisting reality, focus on adapting to it. A person who understands this becomes steady, unshaken by what they cannot change. They do not waste energy on anger over the inevitable or despair over the uncontrollable. They move forward calmly and deliberately, focusing only on what is truly theirs to shape. It is like standing in the middle of a storm. You cannot stop the wind. You cannot command the rain. But you can stand firm. You can adjust your course. You can keep moving forward. That is real strength. That is Stoicism in action. Progress is not measured by how much effort you exert, but by where you direct it. Most people work hard, but few work wisely. They push themselves in every direction, pouring energy into tasks that don't truly matter, mistaking movement for progress. The Stoics knew that effort alone is not enough. What matters is whether that effort is aimed at something meaningful. Double your effort where it matters. Let go of what doesn't. Seneca warned against wasting life on trivial pursuits, reminding us that time is the one resource we can never recover. Yet people exhaust themselves chasing approval, arguing over what doesn't matter, or perfecting things that add nothing to their lives. They spread themselves thin, saying yes to everything, trying to meet expectations that aren't even their own, only to look back and wonder where their time went. The Stoic approach is different. Instead of trying to do everything, they focus on the few things that create real impact. Instead of running faster in every direction, they choose their path deliberately and walk it with intention. Consider the demands on your energy each day. Some, if ignored completely, would change nothing in your life. Others, the important ones, are often neglected, buried under distractions. The relationships that truly matter, the skills that would leave a lasting mark, the habits that could transform everything, if only they were given the attention they deserve. The question is simple. Are you working hard at what truly matters, or just working hard? Picture someone frantically trying to fill a bucket with water. The bucket is full of cracks, but instead of fixing them, they work faster, pouring in more and more, yet the water keeps escaping. This is how many people live. They push harder instead of pausing to ask whether their effort is being used wisely. The solution is not to do more. The solution is to focus more. If something is unimportant, let it go. If something is essential, give it everything. Recognize where your energy is being wasted and redirect it toward what truly matters. Nothing in life is unlimited. Not time, not energy, not focus. If you spend these resources on what does not serve you, there will be nothing left for what does. But if you channel them with clarity and precision, you can accomplish more with half the effort. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive is not how much they work. It is the wisdom to know where to place their effort. Work hard, yes, but only on what deserves it. Most people move through life hoping for the best, assuming things will go as planned and feeling frustrated when obstacles appear. The Stoics took the opposite approach. They expected challenges. They prepared for them. Through a practice called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, they would visualize obstacles before they happened. This was not to dwell on negativity, but to be ready, composed, and unshaken when adversity arrived. To expect challenges is not to invite them, it is to disarm them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he would encounter selfishness, dishonesty, arrogance, and ignorance. He did not wish for a world without such things. He accepted them as part of reality. Seneca advised his students to imagine loss, not to live in fear of it, but to appreciate more deeply what they had, and to be prepared if it was taken away. The Stoics practiced imagining everything they had being taken from them, not to create fear, but to loosen attachment and deepen gratitude. If we have already accepted the worst-case scenario in our minds, then when life sends difficulties our way, we are not caught off guard. We meet them with calm readiness. Most suffering comes not from hardship itself, but from resistance, expecting life to follow a certain script and feeling betrayed when it doesn't. A person who assumes everything will go smoothly is easily frustrated, thrown off balance by even the smallest disruption. But someone who has already considered what could go wrong moves through life differently. They are not naive. They are not fragile. They enter each situation prepared. Think about how often small inconveniences ruin someone's day. A delayed flight, a rude comment, an unexpected expense. These things, in the grand scheme, are trivial. Yet they cause frustration simply because they weren't anticipated. But what if, instead of hoping nothing would go wrong, you began each day with a quiet expectation that something probably would? Not in a pessimistic way, but in a way that makes you resilient. When traffic is worse than expected, you stay calm. When someone disappoints you, you're not surprised. When plans change, you adapt immediately. You waste no time resisting reality. You move with it. And this principle applies to more than small inconveniences. It extends to life's greatest challenges. Imagine someone who never considers that they could lose their job, face illness, or experience failure. When it happens, they fall apart. But a Stoic, having already envisioned such hardships, responds with clarity and strength. They have rehearsed their actions. They have accepted that life is unpredictable, and instead of breaking, they adjust. The world never promised us an easy path, only the opportunity to walk it with wisdom and resilience. The question is not whether obstacles will come, they will. The question is whether we will be ready when they do. By visualizing difficulties before they happen, we take away their power. They no longer shock us. They no longer pull us into emotional chaos. Instead, we meet them with calm, with strategy, and with the quiet confidence that whatever comes, we are prepared. And in that preparation, we find peace. Most people wake up and step into their day without intention, reacting to whatever demands appear. They check their phones first thing in the morning, letting outside voices decide where their attention goes. They rush from task to task, constantly adjusting to new urgencies, feeling busy but unsure where the day is gone. The Stoics lived differently. They didn't wait for life to impose its chaos, they imposed order. They believed a well-lived day is deliberate, not accidental. Marcus Aurelius began his mornings by reflecting on what lay ahead, mentally preparing himself for the challenges and responsibilities of the day. Seneca ended his evenings by reviewing the day, what was done well, what was wasted, and what could be improved. This simple rhythm, thinking ahead, reviewing, and adjusting, turns life from something that happens to us into something we actively shape. A person who plans in advance is rarely caught off guard. They move with purpose. They decide what matters before the world decides for them. It's a simple habit, but its effects are profound. 5 or 10 minutes before bed, map out the next day. When you wake, there is no confusion, only clarity. You already know your priorities. You begin not in reaction, but in control. When you don't set your intentions in advance, you're far more likely to spend the day in reactive mode, answering to other people's priorities instead of your own. The Stoics understood that true freedom is not doing whatever happens to come up. It's choosing your direction deliberately. When you plan ahead, you take back control. You decide where your energy will go, instead of letting the day scatter it in 100 different directions. Some might argue that life is unpredictable, that plans often change. That's true. The Stoics never suggested we cling rigidly to our plans, only that we begin with intention. A plan is a guide, not a prison. If the day shifts, we adapt. But we adapt from a place of clarity, not chaos. There's a calm confidence in knowing that when tomorrow comes, you won't be scrambling to catch up. You won't be pulled into distractions before you've had a chance to focus. You will wake with direction. And with that direction, you'll move through the day with purpose, not just momentum. Yet even with a plan, there is a moment before action when hesitation creeps in. A thought arises. What if this doesn't work? What if I fail? Suddenly, what should have been a simple decision becomes an endless internal debate. The Stoics knew this trap well. Overthinking is the enemy of action. It delays, it drains, it turns forward motion into stillness. Clarity in thought is only complete when it is followed by movement. The day belongs to the one who acts. The Stoics had a simple remedy for doubt: act without overthinking. Epictetus reminded his students that outcomes are never in our control, only our effort. If a choice is within your power and aligns with reason, act. Do not waste your life searching for perfect certainty. It doesn't exist. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most fears that hold us back, in work, relationships, or personal goals, are creations of the mind. We picture failure so vividly that it feels real before we've even tried. We rehearse worst-case scenarios until they seem inevitable. Yet when we finally take the leap, we often find the fear was inflated, the challenge far less daunting than we imagined. Consider how many opportunities vanish in hesitation. Someone wants to start a new habit, but tells themselves to wait for the right time. Another has an idea, but convinces themselves they need more preparation. Someone else stays silent when they could speak, waiting for courage to arrive. But life does not wait. The difference between those who progress and those who remain stuck is rarely intelligence or talent, it is action. This does not mean acting recklessly. The Stoics were never impulsive. They valued deliberate action, thinking enough to ensure wisdom, but never so much that thought becomes a prison. There is a time to weigh options carefully. But once the path is clear, hesitation serves no purpose. A Stoic moves forward with trust in their ability to adapt. They understand that even if things don't go as planned, they will learn, adjust, and continue. A person who waits until they feel completely ready will wait forever. The perfect moment never arrives. The perfect plan never materializes. The only way forward is to move, act, adjust, repeat. The mind will always find reasons to delay, but at some point, thought must give way to action. When that moment comes, the Stoic does not hesitate. They simply begin. Comparison is a silent thief. It steals what should be a moment of personal satisfaction and replaces it with doubt. You achieve something you once dreamed of, but instead of pride, you glance sideways at someone who has done more, achieved faster, gone further. Suddenly, what felt like progress now feels like inadequacy. The Stoics understood this trap well. Stay in your own lane. Ignore comparisons. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to waste time worrying about what others were doing. He knew that every person walks their own path, shaped by different circumstances, abilities, and choices. What good is it to compare your journey to someone else's when no two people start from the same place? Epictetus went further, saying, "The opinions and successes of others should not concern us at all." He taught that happiness comes not from how we measure up to others, but from how well we live according to our own principles. Comparison is a losing game, because there is no finish line. No matter how much you achieve, there will always be someone ahead, in some way, richer, smarter, stronger, or more accomplished. If your self-worth depends on being ahead of others, peace will always remain just out of reach. Worse still, comparison distracts from what truly matters. Instead of focusing on your own growth, you fixate on someone else's. Instead of improving at your own pace, You measure yourself against a standard never meant for you. A runner who spends more time watching the other lanes will never fully realize their own potential. A runner who constantly glances at the lanes beside them loses speed, loses focus, and risks stumbling. The same is true in life. Someone consumed by what others are doing is not fully present in their own work. They chase an illusion, seeking validation from a target that keeps moving. But when you stay in your lane, when you measure progress only against your past self, you move forward with clarity, free from the weight of comparison. The truth is, you are not in competition with anyone but yourself. The only question that matters is, are you better today than you were yesterday? If the answer is yes, then you are winning. The world will always be filled with people on different journeys, moving at different speeds. None of that has anything to do with you. Let others walk their path and walk yours. Stay in your own lane. Keep moving forward. That is enough. Life is full of half-hearted efforts. People who start but never finish, who commit with hesitation, who pursue goals while leaving the door open for an easy exit. The Stoics had no patience for this kind of wavering. They believed that if something is worth doing, it is worth committing to fully. And if it's not worth full commitment, it's not worth doing at all. Seneca warned against scattered focus, reminding us that a divided mind accomplishes little. A person only half committed to their work, their relationships, or their personal growth will always feel frustrated, always feel something is missing. When we act reluctantly or hesitantly, we rob ourselves of the full experience. Imagine an athlete who steps onto the field but plays cautiously, afraid of injury. They don't protect themselves, they weaken themselves. Or think of someone who says they want to write a book, start a business, or change their life, but only gives a fraction of their effort. They get a fraction of the results. The Stoics believed in wholehearted action, fully showing up, fully engaging, fully living. This doesn't mean recklessness. It means presence, intention, and commitment. This doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means that once a decision is made, once a path is chosen, there is no hesitation, no second guessing. To do something halfway is to waste time. The question is simple. Are you in or are you out? If it matters, give it everything. If it doesn't, walk away without regret. Most dissatisfaction in life comes from this in-between state. People who want results without full effort, who want meaning without deep commitment. But there is no true fulfillment in half measures. The Stoic way is clear. Choose deliberately, act decisively, and once committed, do so without reservation. If you train, train with intensity. If you work, work with focus. If you love, love completely. Whatever you do, do it fully. Because a life lived halfway is not truly lived at all. Distraction is the enemy of depth. The modern world pulls our attention in 1,000 directions at once. Notifications, emails, endless streams of information, each demanding a fraction of our focus until nothing meaningful remains. The Stoics understood this well. A scattered mind leads to a scattered life. To live with purpose, to achieve mastery, to experience true presence, one must learn to eliminate distractions ruthlessly. Seneca warned us, life is not short, we just waste much of it. And what is more wasteful than constant interruption? A person who allows distractions to dictate their day is not truly in control of their own time. They are reactive, constantly shifting from one minor urgency to the next, never diving deep into what matters most. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, trained himself to focus only on what was essential. He reminded himself daily that most things do not matter, that most noise is irrelevant. Clarity, he knew, comes not from doing more, but from removing the unnecessary. Imagine trying to sculpt a masterpiece while being interrupted every few minutes. Each time you regain focus, you must reorient yourself. Remember where you left off. Rebuild the momentum you lost. This is what distractions do to the mind. They fracture attention, making even simple tasks feel difficult, making deep work almost impossible. The Stoics believed attention is one of our most valuable resources. Like time, once wasted, it cannot be reclaimed. But eliminating distractions is not just about turning off notifications or finding a quieter space. It is a deeper discipline, the ability to decide what deserves your attention and what does not. It is recognizing that not everything requires a response. Not every demand is urgent. Not every voice deserves to be heard. The ability to focus is the ability to filter. To say no to what does not serve you. A Stoic does not allow themselves to be pulled in every direction. They decide, with intention, where their mind will go. Most people live in constant mental clutter, filling every spare moment with stimulation. Scrolling, checking, reacting, never allowing their thoughts to settle, never experiencing real clarity. But true progress, true mastery, true peace. These come only when the mind is fully present, fully engaged, fully absorbed in what matters. Distraction is not just an inconvenience. It is a form of self-sabotage. The Stoic path is simple. Remove what is unnecessary. Protect your focus. Give your full attention only to what is truly worth it. Wisdom is not something we are born with. It is something we cultivate. Wisdom is not something we simply find. It is something we cultivate. The Stoics understood that no one holds all the answers, not even the greatest minds. That's why they embraced a simple but powerful principle. Learn from the wise, both past and present. Life is too short to figure everything out on our own. The mistakes we make, the struggles we face, someone, somewhere, has already walked that path, already found a way through. Yet most people ignore this truth. They live as if they must navigate everything from scratch, as if history has nothing to teach them, as if the greatest thinkers, leaders, and survivors of the past have no relevance to their modern challenges. The Stoics saw things differently. They believed wisdom is everywhere, ready to be absorbed if we are humble enough to listen. Marcus Aurelius, though an emperor, never assumed he had all the answers. His meditations are filled with reflections on lessons learned from others, his teachers, his mentors, even those he disagreed with. Seneca often referenced older philosophers, drawing on their ideas, testing them, refining them. Epictetus, once a slave, built his entire philosophy on the idea that freedom comes from clear thinking, and that begins with learning from those who came before. They all understood that wisdom is a chain, passed down through generations. To ignore it is to waste time relearning lessons already taught. But learning from the wise doesn't mean blind obedience. It means seeking out those who have lived well, who have struggled and overcome, who have thought deeply, and using their knowledge as a foundation. It means reading great books, studying great minds, surrounding yourself with people who challenge and inspire you. Most importantly, it means recognizing that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. A person who refuses to learn from others is trapped within the limits of their own experience. But a person who seeks wisdom wherever it can be found, who reads, listens, and studies, expands their mind beyond what they could ever achieve alone. The greatest advantage we have over those who came before us is access to their knowledge. The question is, will we use it, or will we, like so many before us, make the mistake of thinking we must figure it all out alone? The wise do not claim to know everything. The wise continue to learn. Much of our frustration in life does not come from reality itself, but from the gap between reality and our expectations. We often assume things will go a certain way, that people will behave as we hope, that our plans will unfold without disruption. And when they don't, we feel anger, disappointment, even despair. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believe peace is not found in forcing the world to match our expectations, but in adjusting our expectations to match reality. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he would encounter selfishness, ignorance, and injustice. He did not hope for a flawless world. He prepared for the world as it is. Epictetus taught that suffering does not come from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. A flight is delayed. One person accepts it calmly, another grows furious. The event is the same. The difference is in expectation. The first person knows delays happen. The second expects perfection. One remains at peace, the other suffers. We do this all the time. We expect traffic to be light, and when it isn't, we feel irritated. We expect others to understand us perfectly, and when they don't, we feel misunderstood. We expect success to come quickly, and when it takes longer, we feel like failures. But none of these reactions are necessary. What if, instead, we expected obstacles, expected imperfection, expected that things will not always go as planned? Then when difficulties arise, we are not shaken. We are ready. This does not mean lowering our standards or abandoning ambition. It means seeing the world clearly, accepting that life is unpredictable, that people are flawed, and that nothing is guaranteed. It means preparing the mind in advance so that when things do not go our way, we do not waste energy resisting what is. A person who expects reality to be different than it is will always be at war with life. But a person who aligns their expectations with reality moves through the world with calm, with resilience, with an understanding that things happen as they do, not as we wish. Imagine two people walking into a storm. One is angry at the rain, shouting at the clouds, demanding the weather change. The other simply takes out an umbrella and keeps walking. The rain falls the same on both, but only one suffers. Life is the same. The world will not bend to our expectations, but we can adjust our expectations to meet the world. And when we do, we find freedom. Most people rely on motivation to make progress in life. They wait until they feel inspired to act, and when that motivation fades, as it always does, people stop. They start new habits, only to abandon them weeks later. They set goals, but struggle to follow through. The Stoics understood that discipline is far more reliable than motivation, and the best way to ensure discipline is to build systems, not just habits. A habit is something you do. A system is something that ensures you keep doing it. A person who wakes up early only when they feel like it has a habit. A person who sets an alarm, places it across the room, and commits to a structured morning routine has a system. A person who exercises sporadically has a habit. A person who schedules workouts in advance, prepares their gear the night before, and has an accountability partner has a system. Habits rely on willpower, but willpower is limited. Systems remove the need for willpower. They make action automatic. Marcus Aurelius did not write in his journal only when he felt inspired. He made it a daily practice. Seneca did not reflect on his life only when he had free time. He structured his evenings around self-examination. The great Stoics understood that if something is important, it must be woven into the fabric of life, not left to chance. Think about where you struggle with consistency. Is it your health, your work, your learning? Instead of asking, "How can I be more motivated?" ask, "How can I design my life so that taking action becomes the default?" A person who sets reminders, structures their environment, and removes unnecessary friction will achieve more with half the effort. A person who relies on fleeting bursts of motivation will always struggle. Success is not the result of occasional inspiration. It is the result of consistent systems that carry you forward day after day. Progress is the result of consistent action, repeated over time, made easier by thoughtful systems. If you want to grow, whether in discipline, focus, or character. Don't just build habits. Build systems that make those habits inevitable. Excellence is not an accident. The people we surround ourselves with shape our thoughts, our standards, and ultimately our lives. The Stoics understood this well. If you want to elevate yourself, you must surround yourself with excellence. Seneca warned that we become like those we spend the most time with. The influence of others seeps into us, often without our realizing it. If we are surrounded by people who complain, make excuses, or drift through life without purpose, we will slowly, unconsciously adopt the same mindset. But if we choose to be in the company of those who push themselves, who think deeply, who strive for something greater, then we too will be pulled upward. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to learn from the best, whether from the philosophers he admired or the mentors who shaped his thinking. He did not seek flattery or comfort. He sought truth, wisdom, and challenge. A person who surrounds themselves with those who demand more will always rise higher than someone who settles for mediocrity. This does not mean cutting off everyone who falls short of some impossible standard. It means being intentional. Ask yourself, do the people around me encourage growth or stagnation? Do they push me toward wisdom or distraction? Do they hold me to a higher standard or pull me into negativity? This principle applies not only to those we know personally, but also to the voices we allow into our minds, the books we read, the ideas we engage with, the content we consume. All of these shape us. If we fill our minds with trivialities, gossip, and distractions, our thinking will reflect that. But if we immerse ourselves in the works of great minds, in meaningful conversations, in lessons from those who have mastered their craft, we accelerate our own growth. Excellence is contagious, just as mediocrity is. If you want to be better, place yourself among those who expect more, who challenge assumptions, who remind you what is possible. Because in the end, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You rise to the level of your surroundings. Choose them wisely. Life does not move in straight lines. Plans unravel, circumstances shift. What once felt certain becomes uncertain. Most people resist change. They cling tightly to how they think things should be instead of adapting to how things are. The Stoics knew that rigidity leads to suffering, while flexibility leads to strength. They embraced a simple yet profound principle: flow with the current, adapt to life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that nature itself is always in motion. The seasons shift, rivers carve new paths, the universe expands, nothing stays fixed. And yet, we often expect life to be predictable, stable, even under our control. But control is an illusion. The only true control we have is over how we respond. A rigid tree snaps in the storm. A flexible one bends and survives. A person who refuses to adapt, who insists life must match their expectations, will always feel frustration. But the one who adjusts, who moves with reality rather than against it, finds peace. This doesn't mean passivity. The Stoics were not fatalists. They did not give up or let life push them aimlessly. They acted with purpose, while accepting what they could not change. If a door closes, they don't pound on it endlessly. They look for another. If a plan fails, they don't despair. They adjust. If circumstances shift, they shift with them, holding fast to their principles, but changing their approach as needed. Think about how much energy is wasted resisting what is, complaining about circumstances, wishing things were different, becoming angry at the uncontrollable. None of that changes reality, but adaptation does. A person who knows when to push forward and when to yield moves through life with grace, while others struggle against it. The ocean does not fight the waves, it moves with them. The wind does not resist the mountains, it flows around them. A Stoic does not waste time demanding life be different. They see things clearly, Accept what must be accepted, change what can be changed, and keep moving forward. Because in the end, it is not the strongest who thrive, nor the most stubborn. It is those who know how to flow. Life is not something to be conquered. It is something to be navigated. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew true strength comes not from control, but from clarity. Peace is not found by changing the world, but by mastering the self. Wisdom is not about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions. These 12 principles are not just ideas to admire. They are tools to live by. Do less, but do it better. Focus only on what you can control. Commit fully or not at all. Learn from the wise. Adapt to life instead of resisting it. If these ideas remain just words, nothing will change. But if they become part of how you think, how you act, how you move through the world, then everything changes. The world around you will always be unpredictable. Challenges will come. People will disappoint. Plans will fail. But none of that determines your path. Only your response does. And if you respond with discipline, with wisdom, with presence, then no matter what happens, you will not just endure. You will grow. You will move forward. You will live not as a leaf tossed by the wind, but as the one who chooses where to go next. So as you step into the rest of your day, ask yourself, which of these principles will I apply right now? Because Stoicism is not about reading, it's about action. It's about living well, even in the face of difficulty. And in the end, that is the only thing that truly matters.